Option L performs a myriad of wire pair calculations. I'll press letter L. You see you have a lot of options here. By pressing A, you can find the resistance of a certain length of wire. Let's try that. A. It's going to ask you what gauge wire you want to work with. So let's say 24 gauge. Enter. And let's say we're interested in the resistance of 1,000 feet of 24 gauge. And it gives you both the single conductor resistance and the conductor pair resistance, which is usually what we would be interested in. I'll press enter. Option B allows you to find the resistance of a certain length of all wire sizes. So if you're looking for a particular resistance and you just want to scan through all the different wire gauges, let's try that. How many feet? Let's say 523 feet. And it tells you for 30 gauge, 523 feet, single conductor is 53.9 ohms, and for the pair it's twice that, of course. You press enter and scroll through all the different wire gauges that are in the program. Option C allows you to find the distance associated with the value of resistance. This is kind of backwards of what we did before. Press C, and again it asks you for the wire size. Let's say this time we're dealing with 14 gauge wire, and we want to know what distance would result in 1,000 ohms. And as you can see, the single conductor distance that results in 1,000 ohms is 396,000 feet, and the wire pair distance would be half of that, would be 198,000 feet of 14 gauge wire. And press enter. Option D allows you to find the minimum wire size from resistance and distance. In other words, if you know the distance you need to go and you know the maximum resistance that you can have in the wire, this will help you pick the wire size that will accomplish that. Let's try that. Press D. Let's say we can have no more than 45 ohms in the wire, and we need to go 1,200 feet. And it tells you that the minimum wire size that can do that for you is 22 gauge wire. Per pair it's 38.73 ohms. Notice that 23 gauge would result in 48.86 ohms, which is over the 45 maximum that we specified, and that 21 gauge results in 30.72 ohms. So the best choice here would be 22 gauge wire or larger. And press enter. Option E allows you to evaluate the resistance that occurs and the equivalency that occurs from twisting multiple pairs of wire together. I'm going to press E. It's going to ask you what gauge wire you want to begin with. So let's say we want to twist together 24 gauge wire, and I'll put 24. It's asking you for a distance, not that has anything to do with the equivalency, but that just because the program is going to give you a total resistance value. So we'll just say 1,000 feet. Now, he tells me 1,000 feet of 24 gauge wire has 51.34 ohms. If I want to twist another pair to that, I just press 2. Now I have 2 pairs, and it tells me that has less resistance than 22 gauge wire. If I press 2 again, I have 3 pairs. If I press 2 again, I have 4 pairs. I have a lot of options down here. I can review the entries. I can subtract a single pair, subtract numerous pairs. I can add another pair. I can add a lot of pairs. I can press 8 to find the number of 24 gauge wire pairs that will result in, say, 8 gauge. Let's try that. And press 8. So I started with 24 gauge, and I want to emulate 8 gauge wire. Notice it'll take 41 pairs twisted together to have less resistance than 8 gauge wire. I'm going to press 1 to end and Z to exit.